Today's episode is with my friend Rachel DeVoe of Rachel Good Eats. She's a registered dietitian, personal trainer, and has a cult following on Instagram. She grew up in Washington and graduated from Oregon State University, where she started Rachel's Good Eats Instagram account as a college student. She now shares recipes, intuitive eating strategies, and simple workouts with more than 645,000 followers. She's such a fun, easy, laid back lady. And her first cookbook, Rachel Good Eats, is out now. Easy, laid back, nutrient rich recipes for you and your family to try. This is definitely a cookbook I'll be using throughout the year. And Rachel is such a breath of fresh air. I'm so excited for you guys to get to know her. All right, Rachel, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you. This has been such a long time coming. When I think about it, I'm like, how come you weren't like my first or second episode? But I think things happen for a reason. Your new book, Rachel's Good Eats, comes out. It's your first book. You have this amazing business inspiring people and women to get active. You've launched an athleisure brand. If I was your big sister, I would just be like so proud and
Oh,
telling the
that's so
whole
nice.
world about you. So I'm so excited to have you on the podcast to talk about your story and just kind of document the growth of this amazing business and brand.
Oh, I appreciate that, Kelly. We've known each other for I went to your first was it your first book launch in Malibu?
Yeah, so that was my first book launch.
So
Yeah.
how long ago was that?
That was in that was 2017.
Oh my gosh.
So
So I've looked up to you for so many years. So this is so fun that I get to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me.
well, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And I feel like you had the entrepreneurial spirit at such a young age. You started Rachel Good Eats while you were in college, but I kind of want to go even further back. So, what got you into loving moving your body, working out, taking care of yourself? Like, what sparked that interest?
It started with sports early on. I loved playing all different kinds of sports, mostly soccer and basketball growing up, and continued that through high school. I did not grow up eating healthy. I've said it so many times before, but it's just creating habits over time and just learning kind of what works best for me. And I think it was in high school where it just really clicked, um, that what you eat does matter so much in terms of fuel and how you perform. And that's also the time that I started weightlifting was like at the end of middle school because we had a very um, intense basketball program. So I think just like lifting weights early on just kind of activated my mind in thinking about food in that way. And so I was probably a sophomore in high school when I realized I wanted to be a dietitian. And then I went on to college at Oregon State University and graduated in 2015.
So interesting. So when you look back, because you have a sister, it's two
Mhm.
girls in your family and your
Yeah.
parents. When you look back at like some of the meals that your parents were serving you and how they looked at health and food, what were some of the things that they were plating up? Did you have family dinners? And how did you
Mm.
influence that change? When did you start kind of being the leader in your family when it comes to
Oh,
health?
wow. Well, we did always have family dinners, which I very much appreciated. My mom cooked, my dad also cooked, but my dad's side was more boxed dinners, hamburger helper style. Never really an emphasis on nutrients or how is this benefiting our bodies. So that's where I kind of took over more in later high school, college. But something I also appreciated, my mom always had a big salad on the table. Like that was our staple. And so even if we didn't have like another veggie side, we always have a big salad, which now looking back, I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like even my friends, none of the parents really focused on nutrition. I think just during that time, there wasn't a lot of information out there, And so taking it as my responsibility more in college is when I started incorporating it into my family's habits. And I don't know how successful I am with my dad. He still eats Jif peanut butter, but I do order him, like I do as much as I can to help them out, to make it just easy and convenient for them, which is also the same approach I have with my community. But I order him a butcher box every few months just so he'll have like good quality meats, and that's something I am so behind is organic, grass-fed, wild-caught animal protein. So if he can have that just like in his freezer, then I feel a little bit better.
Oh, I feel like we, probably have like parallel or very similar backgrounds where
Mhm.
my parent, it's Costco. It's like, what can they buy? What
Right.
can they buy at Costco? A gallon size of Jif and
Mhm.
all the Triscuits and Wheat Thins and the box style meals and stuff. But it is nice, like when you think about the foundation of your childhood and the fact that your parents did take the time to make dinner and have family dinner, and that becomes such a ritual for families to love food. And then you can get into the nitty gritty like you did in college. So, going to get your RD, what were some of the things that you learned in school that you applied? And what were some of the things that you learned in school that you've abandoned?
Definitely after college, I taught myself a lot about holistic nutrition. I don't think we covered I feel like there was just a big gap with the dietetics route in college going that way. And so, yeah, after college, like I continued on researching myself a lot of different topics. And I feel like I found a good balance of it from what they taught in our curriculum and then just kind of just experimenting and researching with topics that I was curious about. So I feel like I've fell a little bit more in the wellness realm, fuel as food, looking at ingredients. How are they going to benefit your bodies? And looking at food more anti inflammatory. And so, yeah, I definitely got a lot more experience during my dietetic internship, which I had the most fun. I did a distance program through the University of Northern Colorado, which means I wasn't actually there, but I got to plan it kind of wherever I wanted. So um I did a portion with the sports dietitian at Oregon State University, which was so much fun. I feel like that's just a huge passion of mine, obviously. Just combining the two, and I learned a lot there. And yeah, I worked at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, learned a lot. That was my favorite rotation, but I knew at the time I didn't want to work in a hospital setting, but it was so much information and I loved the experience. So I think just, I don't know, going through that process, I was just very open minded. And I think that just helped me be more open to the fact that, like, hey, I can work for myself after this and do exactly what I want. And I kind of figured that out after I got done with my dietetic internship. I opened my own private practice and probably like, like no one tells you how to open your own business. You have to figure out so many things along the way. There was, lots of mistakes. Yeah, I've had about 5 to 7 clients that I was seeing and helping them with grocery shopping and meal prepping. And soon after that, I felt like my Instagram was kind of taking off and building more traction. And I found out I could actually make money from this. So I figured out early on, like, I'm going to take this risk and make the jump to completely online because my goal has always been to help as many people as possible with their health and wellness routine and fitness as well. So I just figured that going online, I could definitely reach more people.
Well, you've definitely done that. Seen your Instagram explode over the years. And what I love is looking back at your internships and, working for an athletic department and doing, making plans and suggestions for athletes and having that background yourself.
Mhm,
What I've seen you give your community and the people you inspire online is for women to treat themselves like athletes, to fuel
mhm,
like an athlete, to train like an athlete, and to have the lifestyle flexibility that an athlete has when they hold on to lean muscle mass. And I think
mhm,
that right there really sucks someone out of a diet mentality where they're calorie counting and depriving and not allowing for anything sweet or, and we'll get to your cookbook, which has some amazing, delicious,
mhm.
refined sugar-free type desserts, and you've always been very well-rounded, but that pushing women in that direction to gain strength and lean muscle mass and to be able to fuel themselves accordingly really changes the emotional and mental game of eating for so many women. And I just want to applaud you for that because a lot of times people get in the weeds around calories or macros or counting or weighing and the flexibility and freedom that you offer your community and the inspiration to put on lean muscle mass and to really like be strong mentally and physically is just you set yourself apart in that space and I
Oh,
just
I
have to
appreciate that.
applaud that because it comes through in all of what you do and it's just really cool to watch. So let's let's talk about taking it from seeing people in practice to online. Like, how did you grow this business? How did it start? Kind of get into the business nitty gritty because I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult that is and
Mhm.
how serious you have to take it as a business. Like,
For sure.
what did your days and weeks look like?
Well, when I first started, my days going to, a full college load every day, I was posting 3 to 4 times a day on my Instagram, just of snacks, things that I'd pull out, put on my desk while, the class was going on. I would take a picture and post it, and I'd always put everything in the caption so people know that it's just a few ingredients. It doesn't take a lot of work to do, and I've always loved, like, the aesthetic of food. I love plating food. That's just something I'm very passionate about. So from early on, it was consistency. And mind you, it was never a thought in my mind that, hey, I'm going to grow my Instagram account. Like that was never something that was a goal. I think it just happened organically. And I think I got in at the time that you could, get a big following, maybe if you were consistent right away,
Yeah.
where now I think it's a little bit more difficult. But yeah, consistency early on. Probably a year and a half later, I created my blog, rachelsgoodeats.com, which essentially was just a place where I wanted to archive my recipes. Not really any other reason, just I didn't want to have people keep scrolling down to find this recipe. So I just wanted to simplify, make it convenient for people. So that's when I created my blog. When Instagram stories came out, I started sharing more of like a different side of my lifestyle with fitness. And so I would just show different exercises I was doing, share more of my workout routine. And then people started really engaging with that and requesting it more. And so that kind of led to, hey, I'm going to make my first workout program because that's what everyone was requesting. And so I launched Good Sweat Volume 1 in, I think it was 2018. It was after I became certified as a personal trainer. And that was super successful right off the bat, which was really cool. And then during the pandemic, we all know we had to figure it out somehow. And I had never worked out from home. That was not something I normally did. But
So fun.
now it's fun. Now I actually did a live workout this morning. So now
Yeah.
I enjoy them. But it was hard at first, obviously, but we were all in the same boat. I felt this responsibility to be that person that people could, come and have a great workout with and feel so much better after. We're in such a low energy, like depressing state, just being home, not socializing or seeing anyone. So if I could be that person that we could all just come together and be the best community and look forward to something every week when we were just home doing nothing, that's what I did. So I was consistent with that. Again, that wasn't a strategy to do anything. It was just more of in the moment. I feel like that's just mostly how I work every day is just fly by the seat of my pants. But was consistent with that for like a year. And then I launched my Good Sweat at Home program, which is the best selling fitness workout program that I have on my site. People loved it. And so I think just leaning into where we're at in life, just being smart about, what I'm putting out there is really big depending on what's happening in the world. And yeah, I feel like I've just grown my not just my Rachel's Good Eats community, but now it's such an emphasis on movement as part of our everyday lives. And so it was also through the pandemic that Bridger and I we just felt such a need to empower women to move their bodies. whether you had equipment, whether you had, 2 wine bottles to work
Yeah.
out with, like, you really just need 5 feet of space to get a good sweat, and so we launched Recreation Sweat, which is our fitness company, and we launched with a few select accessories that helps you get a really good workout, so resistance bands, sliders, we have jump rope, a sweat mat. Now we have quite a few things. But yeah, that is essentially I just see a need for it to help encourage each other and push each other up. And like you said, just encourage women to build more lean muscle mass and to truly just enjoy your fitness and wellness routine over the years. So,
What's so interesting, and I see this with select entrepreneurs on this podcast, is there are people who have an idea. What I've heard you say is you were in college, you had your snacks, you just take a picture and share it.
mhm,
And then you're like, oh, I see that people are liking movement. And so I'm going to create this program and I'm going to create some products to support you. You seem like you follow your gut and your intuition, and you aren't afraid of a failure.
mhm.
What do you attribute that to?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't know if it's something I attribute it to, but I've always been a hard worker. Um, it's just always been something that's super important to me to follow through and to kind of continue on with what you promise yourself. I like how you said it is following my gut. If something doesn't feel right, I won't do it. I'm not going to put it out there. I have to be 100% behind something and very passionate about doing it
Yeah.
to put it out there. And I think that's what sets me apart and makes me a little bit more, I don't know, authentic maybe, and doing things that I just genuinely love. I want my page to be a place that people just enjoy going to, getting fun, healthy recipes that you're going to enjoy making, good workouts that you are going to look forward to and not think of it as a chore. So that's what I love to offer my community.
Well, it absolutely comes through. It's just, I always think it's so interesting because for some people, and I've mentored, upcoming health coaches, nutritionists, and dietitians for their own businesses. And there are certain people that just follow through. And I don't know if it's the smaller steps that they're taking, like, oh, like I'm going to do a workout program. Can you talk about your first workout program that you launched? Was it a PDF? Was it videos? How much investment did you make in it? Like, because taking a picture of your snacks in college and just deciding to post it, there are people who would go, oh, I don't know if I should post this.
Mhm.
And then they can't get consistent because the fear of failure or someone having negative thoughts about it or a bad comment or something can hold people back.
Yeah.
And you just seem very confident in your
Mm.
ability to just decide to do something and follow through. And I
Yeah.
see that. And it's just like
Oh,
it's
that's
a
nice.
magic that I see in certain entrepreneurs and like inspirational, like, I guess influencers and people who have a community that follow along.
I appreciate that. I think again, just being true to what I love, like people are going to know if you're putting things out there and you're not fully behind it. So I
Right.
think I'm just excited to do it. Like I genuinely love what I share on my page. And so I think that's just always, I hope it's shown through. My first workout program, all my workout programs have been PDFs. So I'm still in the ebook game. I haven't made the transition to an app just because now I feel like, I don't know, are apps gonna, be in the long term? Are you gonna end up paying 250,000 to 500,000 to create this app from the ground up? Because I would want to build it myself and make it look how I want it. And so
Yeah.
I obviously have to hire a team. So much money and investment goes into that. And so I've just found it very successful that people love a one-time purchase and you get to keep it forever. I do like the subscription model, but I think just for my community, it's really just worked these PDF workout programs. I've definitely gotten better at making them over the years. I work with my graphic designer on them, Kaylee. She's awesome, but they have progressed. Now we have video and photos for every single exercise in the guide. Some of them have, full on demand workouts with me. There's tons of bonus features like writing down your goals each week, what to look forward to, kind of just reeling in and focusing on, what this person going through this program is going to end up wanting by the end of it. And I give so many tips and tricks, whether it's, nutrition related or workout related, how to hold yourself accountable. And the community has just grown so much from that. And it's been so fun. Last year I did a Good Sweat tour around the country.
I
We
saw
picked
that.
It was so fun. We did 3 cities, started in Seattle, and then we did New York and then San Diego. And so it's the best part meeting people in person that I've been messaging with over the past few years. And so I think that's just something I'm really excited for about my book tour coming up as well.
Yeah, and I think the key that's coming out of it for me, or the takeaway, is that you grow at a realistic pace, and you might not have gone to business school, but you make really good business decisions. I've worked with other people in the fitness space that have taken the PDF thing and jumped right to an app, and
Mhm.
they have big expectations of the profits they'll make on that, but when it comes to iOS updates and keeping up with it and creating enough content, a lot of times they don't have the ability to create all the nutrition and all the
Mhm.
wellness and all of the workouts
Right.
to fill the app and make it worth the dollar investment for their customer. And ultimately, like, all the customer's looking to do is connect with you,
Mhm.
and you're delivering that and elevating those PDFs over time, and then offering your community other things like your new book, Rachel's Good Eats. Like, you have created a place online that's really fun to follow along, and it is authentic, it's happy, you can tell you're really passionate about it. And so it is a natural extension to me that you would come out with a cookbook, because your recipes are delicious. They're also really laid back and easygoing, which I think is part of your yeah,
Yeah.
it's part of your
Hit the
subtitle.
nail on the head then.
Easy, laid back, nutrient rich, nutrient dense recipes. So let's talk about your new book, how it came to be. How did you get your book deal? What did you always want to have a book? What were you so excited about? What are some of your favorite recipes? Let's talk all about it, because this is coming out,
I
and
know. It's a
it's
huge process. Like, the fact that it's coming out and, this month is crazy that it's finally here, because I feel like I've just been talking about it for months and months and working. Like, it's been a 2-year process.
I
And
know.
so, what was it? In May of 2021, I got my literary agent, and
How
then
did you get
we
her? Is it a female or male?
it's a female. She actually had been following me for a few years, and I guess she had tried to reach out to like 2 years prior, and I never responded. I don't think I saw it though. And so I responded this time because I'm like, you know what? I think it is a good time to
Yeah.
do this. It's going to be a long process. I did always want to come out with a cookbook, but I think in my mind it was always like way down the road, like just some crazy goal that, you have as a younger person growing up. And so the fact that it's finally here is a little surreal, but I, went through the whole bidding process with the publishers, which was a whole experience in itself. And it was COVID. So we had to do Zoom meetings, and you kind of pitch yourself. You write up a draft of, exactly what you think this book is going to turn out to be, some of the recipes that are going to be included in it. And so then they bid on your book,
So
which
fun.
is, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then you kind of narrow it down, you vibe it out with the publishers, see which one you kind of see the vision with the most. And then I think we confirmed like August. Could have been sooner, but no, I think it was sooner. And then I started working on the recipes. And obviously, like, I'm going to include staples like my fan favorites, the enchilada skillet, homemade Twix bars, the good ones that people really enjoyed. Those are in the book, along with 75 brand new recipes. So it was a few months. It was just chaotic recipe testing. It was literally just me, and then 2 other girls were helping me recipe test. And so I would kind of test it out. find the appropriate measurements and everything and then send it to them and they would kind of test it over again. And then Bridger was also my, king recipe tester. And oh gosh, I finished like in October of 2021, I think, with those recipes. We started shooting the book. I flew down to Sonoma, California, and we shot a week in December and a week in January to get all of the pictures. I think like 98% of the recipes have photos, which
It's
was like a
beautiful.
non-negotiable for me. And yeah, what a year and a half later, it's finally almost here.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get on these when you're in the process of creating a book because to have to not edit anymore or change or add another
Oh my
recipe or
gosh.
move something around or just
Yeah.
or like you get to your pub date and you're like, "Shoot, I really wish that recipe was in there, but it's
Can't change it
not."
now. Yeah.
Well, it is absolutely so stunning,
Thanks,
beautiful.
Kelly.
I love the recipes that you have in here. I saw a ceviche recipe that I have to make. It looks absolutely delicious. What are some of your favorites of the new 75 recipes, that you're excited for people to start making in their own
Oh
homes?
gosh. There's a salmon skewer Euro bowl with tzatziki. We have white bean tuna salad, which is like a super easy, quick lunch to make, cucumber sesame salad. We have all the different chapters. There's breakfast, there's a big smoothie section. Shout out to Kelly. I know
Huge
you love your
fan.
smoothies. Lunches, sides and gatherings, snacks, dinners, desserts is like the biggest chapter in the book. And then there's drinks at the end. There's also honey glazed garlic chicken wings, which
Whoa.
they're so good.
So good.
So good.
Well, here's a pic of her new book, Rachel's Good Eats. Easy, laid back, nutrient rich recipes. And I have to say, the ease of your recipes really appeal to me because I aspire to be, a super Food Network top chef. But in reality, when I'm running down the aisles at a grocery store, I'm at a farmer's market or I'm on an app trying to like put everything in my cart and have it delivered so that I can make homemade meals for my boys. There are things I forget,
Mhm.
or I know I probably could elevate the recipe by adding X, Y, and Z, but all the things that I'm seeing in your recipes are things that I keep and are staples in my house, which,
Mhm.
it's like your chili, like you're like, oh, I have either some smoked paprika or chili powder, a cumin, just kind of like the staple ingredients that really make a difference and elevate a dish. So I am curious, like, how do you grocery shop? How do you keep your pantry and fridge stocked to be
Mhm.
able to serve King Bridger all the meals for him to recipe test.
I don't think I'm probably not the norm in this because I do go to the grocery store several times a week. It's
Yeah.
not like a one, maybe even two time, and I'm like set for everything. I'm more of like, I'm recipe testing throughout the week. I'm making new recipes. I'm going to head to the store, or maybe I'll just order groceries so it's more convenient. But I do like having the staples that I can basically build a bowl with, extra protein from the night before and maybe some rice or sweet potatoes. So I do like having certain staples. I'm not a big meal prepper, but if I can just kind of help set myself up for success with staple items in the fridge, it's going to help me out so much more. Like last night, I grilled a bunch of chicken so that I could have for the next 2 days at least, for lunches. And then if dinners, we want that. But I do have my whole kitchen staples and must haves in the book. In the front, I have a 2-day sample meal guide without added sugar if you wanted to kind of build your own 2-day added sugar detox. I have cooking the RGE way section, which I wanted to include in there. So it's not just recipes, it's more of like understanding the foundation and seeing my point of view and how I like to eat and think about food. So there's a eat for fuel, lean into cooking, which is always my first tip when someone asks about how to eat a more balanced diet, just knowing the ingredients that you're consuming. I think for a lot of people, like, yeah, you're fast paced, you're really busy, you're going to order out. You don't know what they're putting in that. So I think just by cooking at home, it's going to help you out a lot in knowing exactly what's going in your food.
Well, speaking of your food philosophy, when you think about how you really started to adopt a, a healthier, mentality around food, like I know you're gluten free and dairy free, refined sugar free. Um, how how did you get there?
Mhm.
And when you think about meals now, how do you think about the components and ingredients?
I grew up eating whatever I wanted. And in college is when I really started to, having to cook for myself. And I also went through this time where I was drinking so much coffee and I was eating gluten and I was eating dairy. And there was this one moment I remember where my stomach was in knots and it was so upset and it was constant for a few weeks. So I'm like, I need to figure out what's happening. And I think I just kept like notes in my phone or like a little notebook or something and wrote down what I was eating and how I felt after it. And then I learned that, okay, well, after I eat this, I don't feel good. But after I eat this, I'm like, okay. So I think just by elimination, I removed gluten and dairy for a little bit, maybe a few weeks, and I felt so much better. But I think
Mhm.
there was still some digestion issues. So I also removed cruciferous veggies, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and broccoli. And that pretty much completely, and coffee. I think the acidity was burning a hole in my stomach, but I think that helped so much with help healing my gut. I was drinking tons of bone broth, so many nutrients in there. And over like 2 years, I think I healed my gut completely just on my own, kind of taking um, tips from what I was learning in class slash just researching on my own. And so I guess since like the end of college, I've been gluten free and dairy free. And then a few years after that is when I was very curious about added sugars. And I was just noticing I was eating so much fruit throughout the day when I was bored, just snacking on fruit. And so I'm like, I'm going to reduce this, kind of build my own little program. And so I did 7 days without any added sugar. So I could still have fruit, but I was having 2 servings or less per day. I was removing honey, maple syrup, any cane sugars from processed items I was eating, none of that for just 7 days. It was so hard. I don't even think I made it the 7 days. But a few weeks later, I tried it again and I made it. And my taste buds, I could just tell that they were so much more sensitive to sweet tasting things. Like a strawberry tasted like I was eating sugar. Like it was so sweet. Like it truly transformed my entire eating habits. And so after that, I created my 7 day added sugar detox, which is my best selling nutrition program on my site. Tens of thousands of people have done it with me and they found so much success through it. And it's cool because I made it for myself initially. And so after finding my success, like I had better skin, I slept better, I had so much more energy, didn't have any brain fog. And once you eliminate it for 7 days, it is training you to think about the ingredients you're consuming and even the packaged items especially. That's something I always try to tell people just to look at, just to be aware of what you're consuming because so many crazy ingredients hides in there. So, yeah, Steph, I would say that my pillars are, little added sugar, focusing on anti-inflammatory ingredients. Now I don't have a label of how I eat, but it's mostly paleo-ish slash Mediterranean.
Yeah,
So high protein, tons of veggies, and then a portion of complex clean carbohydrates like sweet potato or rice is typically what I have.
I love
That
that.
was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, this is the stuff we're looking for. And honestly, it is so fun and that's probably why you're so passionate about the programs you put out. A lot of times it's when you're finding an answer
Mhm.
or a way to heal yourself or something that's made a major impact in your own life, how easy it is to talk about it and share that science and share that that passion and good news and get people
Mhm.
excited about it. Like that that can be repeated over and over again, that isn't super restrictive, but is really like a positive place for people to make change. When you do your 7-day detox, how many times a year are you doing that?
I would say 4 is
Mhm.
a good number, maybe every couple of months, but I get DMs from people in my community who ask to do it because we've just gotten in this routine where we just do it together, and it's like, again, we come together as a community and we can, like, support each other through it, and knowing that other people are doing it makes it so much easier, and we
Yeah.
kind of, like, share recipes while we're doing it and share tips. So, probably 4 times.
I think that's great. I mean, when it comes to going through the holidays and coming out of the holidays or the beginning of summer when people are having like lots of barbecues or the 4th of
Mhm.
July, you have like certain times of year where Halloween, where things get a little crazy in regards to sugar and that checking in back in with yourself and making it so it's easy to say like, "Oh, what's in my food and how am I eating mostly whole foods and unrefined,
Mhm.
sugar-free things and sticking to what makes me feel my best." So,
Mhm.
when you look at when you look at your lifestyle and when you look at I know you said high protein, is there anything that you track for your nutrition to feel your best? Like quantity of intake, grams, strength, even to your movement, like, the things
I
you're keeping
mean,
track of?
yeah, look, I went through my fair share of testing different diets because there was a point like I think it was during college and I guess after college, but I counted macros for a few months. It was way too stressful and, way too much and overwhelming. So I stopped that. I did high carb. I did a little vegetarian. There was I took fat burners for a while just because, like, I wasn't happy with how my body was looking and there was no effect on those. So,
Yeah.
I've done my own experiments and finding out what works. And so everyone goes through their own journey to do that. So don't think like just because you don't feel your best right now, like that's just how it has to be in life. Like keep trying because everyone's diet in how they perform and their energy levels is so different. So just keep trying to like experiment with that and find out what works. Try to eliminate certain things for a time. Um, what was the question, Kelly?
No, that was I mean,
Okay.
I was just curious if you currently track anything because
Okay.
your history has a lot I feel like so many people that have been on a health journey, that's
Yeah.
what you do. You're like, "I'm gonna follow this for a while, I'm gonna follow that for a while, I'm gonna go get tested from a doctor, I'm gonna
Hmm.
try this health modality," like, oh gosh, like, back in the beginning of my career, it was like every other corner in LA was a colonic place, and I'm like, "Everyone's putting a garden hose up their booty, like, what is happening?" And, like, fast forward to 2023, and, like, I have clients texting, calling, emailing me about semaglutide, and they wanna know, like, should they be taking Trulicity or, like, diabetes medications for weight loss, and it's, depending on the year or the
Hmm.
thing, there's gonna be something that's very popular, and it is a shiny little quick fix coin, whether it's a fat burner, like a type 2 diabetes medication, or I don't know, some
Yeah.
whatever skinny tea was popular, like, where people are like, "That's my answer." But I think everyone needs to go through that process of, like, going and trying something, and you may take something from it. Like,
Hmm.
someone might do Whole30 and have eggs for breakfast or a certain amount of protein at lunch and dinner, or really remove sugar from their condiments and never go back. And it's like
Yeah.
those little nuggets that you pull with you along the way that allow you to create your own lifestyle and diet and
Hmm.
own it and not have it be a diet 4-letter word, but have it be like, this is how I eat because it makes me feel best.
Hmm.
And I've figured this out along the way because I care about how I feel. I care about my health and my fitness. And I think as people hone in on what works for them, sometimes I see clients and or experts, influencers get to a point where they're like, what really made a difference to me is when I started tracking this. Like, I do really make sure I hit this protein amount per day, or I do really make sure that I don't go more than like 48 hours without lifting weights, or I
Mm.
do,
Okay.
I non-negotiable is sleep. Like, kind of like, what are your non-negotiables? And as an expert, like, how have you really honed yourself to that expert level?
I definitely focus on protein intake. I've just seen a huge transformation in my physical fitness and how my body looks and how I've gained lean muscle mass
Heck
just
yeah, we've
by
seen it too, Rach. You
That's so
look
nice.
great.
Oh, thank you. I definitely make protein the main part of my meals, and I also include it in snacks. So if I'm gonna have, a sliced up apple, I'm including peanut butter or almond butter with that. I think people oftentimes can make a mistake of just having, carbohydrate heavy fruit or, chips, and they don't include like a healthy fat or a protein with it to help balance your blood sugar,
Yeah,
which I know is speaking to your soul right now. But
my heart is happy.
yeah, but I think like you said about Whole30, like that's one of the diets out there that I would approve of, even just for someone trying to get more healthy, because it teaches you to cook,
Yeah,
for yourself. It teaches you to eat whole foods. I think those diets that are just packaged items, that are X amount of calories that you just put in the microwave, that's not teaching you shit.
yeah,
It's like you're not learning one single thing from that just by putting something in the microwave. You're not learning about ingredients. You're not, you're just focusing on the numbers, which I think people get so messed up with.
mm,
I focus on how I feel, how satiated I am after a meal. I don't want to be hungry like an hour or two after my meal. So I need to eat enough protein to where I can stay full for a few hours. Um, so it's not necessarily a number per se. I do try to get about 20 to 35 grams of protein in my main meals.
mhm,
I don't stick around and count that, but I think I know now just by looking on my plate, I can see how much that is. And then about a fourth of my plate is complex carbs, especially with weight training.
mhm,
I do need that. I feel so much better with it. I think there was a time where I was trying to exclude it,
mhm,
but I feel so much more energized with it. And my body seems to agree when I include that too.
mhm.
So yeah, just experimenting, finding out what works for you is huge.
I love that. No, and absolutely when you're training the way that you're training and you're having a meal that has a substantial amount of protein, that's not going to make a huge impact on your blood sugar because your muscles are hungry for that glucose
Mhm.
and you're pairing it with a protein and it's keeping you full and along that elongating that blood sugar curve over time, which I
Mhm.
think is a major standout, but people bucket things good or bad, but we're talking about whole foods, complex carbohydrates paired with a solid protein in a meal and
Mhm.
not a bunch of mindless packaged carbohydrate snacking between meals. It's a completely
Yeah.
different mindset and style of eating and gives you so much freedom, which I think is
Mhm.
really, really cool. So, looking ahead, I'm curious this is a huge moment. At first, I don't want you to like just brush over it. I know that it's been a long process, but I'm so excited for your book tour. I'm so sad I'm going to be in New York when you're
I
here,
know.
but I'm glad that we're getting to celebrate on the podcast. I
Me
mean,
too.
I would have been there in a heartbeat. Um, Super pregnant, risk my water breaking at your event. It would have been great.
Oh, man.
But I I don't want you to skip over this. I want you to feel all the feels and be so excited about the fact that this is like I am holding a physical copy of your actual cookbook right now with your beautiful face on it and all of these. I mean, are you kidding me with this? All of these
Charcuterie
delicious
boards.
yeah, you're pretty good at those. All of these delicious meals and bites and whole foods, teaching people to simply take care of their bodies. I want you to celebrate it. But I'm also curious, after this big moment, when you think about what's next for you, your family, you and Bridger, for your brand, what would really light you up in the next
Oh
year
my
to three
gosh.
years?
I'm such a present time thinker. I think I've always been bad at answering the questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because I just truly take it day by day. And I think that's helped me get to where I am. I lean into, what feels right. And oh gosh, I think I think it was a great process. So maybe working on number 2 because I know how long of a process it takes. So
Yeah. Well, you just wait. The minute
I
this
need a rest
hits
after for sure.
the minute this hits the list and it's a major success and you've sold, thousands of copies, you're gonna have your phone ringing from your
Mm,
editor and your agent about what's next. So don't you worry.
fingers crossed.
They'll pull you in that direction. But I also think it's a superpower that you stay in the present
Mhm.
and that you just focus on what's, 20, 30 feet in front of you in your windshield. Because, like, when people think really, really big, it's really good to manifest your future. But I do think it can be paralyzing for people to think they have these big thoughts. Like, this agent contacts you and you're like, yeah, I'm going to create a cookbook. It's be a New York Times bestseller. I'm going to have this massive tour. You might be like, feels too big and scary. But
Yeah.
you're just like, yeah, sure. I'll get on a call with a couple of publishers and tell them what I'd like to write. Let's just see how this goes. Like, taking it day by day allows for you not to feel overwhelmed by what you can do. And it's amazing what you can accomplish when you can get consistent with your workouts, with cooking your own meals, and even with your business. And you've done just that. So many congratulations to you, Rachel. I'm so
Thank
excited to
you
have
so
had this
much. Oh,
conversation and to celebrate your new book, Rachel's Good Eats. I'm
thank you.
gonna
I'm
be
so happy. Oh,
this is one I'll be cooking from.
oh,
So
that means so much.
I'll find a little something when we get back from spring break and
Yeah.
share it when your book is out in the world so people can snag it, share my favorites.
Oh, I can't wait. Tag
So
me.
proud of you. Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Where can people find you and follow along if they aren't already?
You can find me on Instagram at Rachel's Good Eats, on my website, rachelsgoodeats.com, and you can pre-order or if it's already out, order my cookbook. It's called Rachel's Good Eats for ease.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah. Figured we start with that one and see where it goes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for you. Really feel this moment. It's huge.
Thank you, Kelly. That means so much.